How's it going, everybody? Welcome to RacerXOnline.com and another RacerX Films. Look at this beauty right here. This is the 2021 KTM 450 SXF Factory Edition. These bikes come out early, man. Every time these things come out, I'm like, wow, it's January. It's already a half a year model motorcycle here already in the winter. So we're out here in the Des in California right now. There's a lot of rain, a lot of weather. So I said, why not do something different? Come to a rough track near my home up in Hesperia, California, and shake down this bike, give you some information about the new connectivity unit that comes stock on the factory edition with the My KTM app on your phone. So we're gonna go over that, go over the motorcycle, some settings, give you guys some baseline settings as well for your new factory edition. So stay tuned, look for some action shots, and we'll be back to talk to you about the connectivity unit and break this whole thing down. All right, just got off this thing. 2021 KTM 450 SXF Factory Edition. Wintertime in California in the desert after a rain. Nowhere else I would rather be. Gosh, it's fun. This place out here, I like to test suspension, tires, a lot of different conditions, a lot of different types of soil. So good for testing. I put 2.5 hours on this sucker. Fun to ride. Let me walk you through what you get with the Factory Edition. Of course, there's a price tag with that, right? So a Kropovich slip-on muffler. You get this new factory rib seat, which be careful because it'll eat your butt up. So just know that. 2.5 hours today. Whew, a little rough, but we got through it. You got orange hubs, factory DID rims, which are really strong rims, but you don't get a lot of rigidity, which is important. You got these cool KTM Red Bull graphics if you guys are into that. And, of course, you have this ready-to-race connectivity unit. The CCU is built up in the handlebar. Not my favorite look / place for this. I wish KTM kind of hid that thing under the number plate there, or like Yamaha, they put it near the side panel, but just kind of bulky, and I'm not a fan of that. But it is nice to have that My KTM app on your phone, and you can adjust how hard you want this thing to hit, how smooth, if you want to have less engine braking, which is, it's really cool. It's a really cool app, easy to use. There's a little tutorial in this video that will take you through that. And probably the most important aspect to this factory edition compared to the standard edition are these clamps. I put these factory split clamps on a standard KTM, and man, it is much better, less harshness, less rigidity. I have more comfort through the front end with these clamps. So if you guys are looking for something to add to your standard edition KTM 450 or 250, these clamps are really good. Now, let me just break down this thing real quick. There's not a lot of differences for me compared to the standard edition. What I do notice with this Kropovich slip-on muffler is that RPM's a little bit more calculated, a little bit smoother than the stock edition KTM. But then once the mid-range hits, man, this thing pulls so far and so long that I'm not used to having a 450 that I can use second gear for a very long time down the straightaway. You can use second gear so long with this muffler. Granted, it's not a full system, it's just a slip-on, but it really helps the mid to top end pull. I used map 1 all day today. I tried map 2, a little bit here and there in the tighter areas where I get more snap, but you know what I did? I went to the My KTM app, the connectivity unit, set it up, created a map that had less engine braking and a more aggressive hit. And holy crap, man, it woke this thing up. Still had a lot of rear wheel traction, but just pulled farther, had more RPM response down low, and just livened it up, made it feel even lighter. Some of us in the industry complain about, yeah, on paper, the KTM is light, but it doesn't feel that light because it's so smooth off the bottom. Well, now, with this new factory edition and the Ready to Race My KTM app, you can adjust that yourself. You can liven this thing up, make it feel light. So now when we say, hey, it's 12 pounds lighter than a Yamaha, it actually feels like that on the track. So very cool that they came out with that app and this connectivity unit. But man, I wish it was somewhere else on the bike. It just looks atrocious on here. It's almost embarrassing for me to have this thing on here. And what if you want to run a crossbar? What's going to happen? Where are you going to put it? So hopefully the aftermarket will do something, have a mount or something where you can take this off, put it behind the number plate. So I'm sure we'll see that here fairly shortly. Suspension. Not a huge fan of the air fork, and I will tell you this. It's going to take you 6 hours to break these suckers in. We're only about 3 hours in on this thing right now, and it's still a little bit harsh and rigid. But as I rode more today, I started breaking in, started feeling a little bit better. I had to go up on the air pressure from 10.9 to 11.1 bar, and then I backed out the compression 4 clicks, and that gave me some extra holdup, but yet kind of kept it supple enough in this small chop that you see here in the video that I needed to get front wheel traction. So that's what we did to the air fork. Not a lot of changes from the standard edition to this. Of course, the shock remains the same. Still feels a little bit low on acceleration. I like to run my sag up to 102, 103 to kind of balance it out. With the fork, I run it on the second line. Some guys like it drop down. I'm a second line guy because it kind of makes it feel side to side movement, makes it feel lighter. I like that. And what I do like about the KTM, although it corners really good, I love the way it corners, it's actually pretty dang stable for how good it corners. Usually when I get a bike that corners well, man, it's atrocious when it comes to like straight line stability or it feels harsh. So this bike does everything pretty good and it corners excellent. I rode a couple other bikes today, and man, once we're in these tight areas out here on these tracks, I can really feel like the KTM shines in these areas when I can get in and out of these spots. So very cool to have this My Connectivity unit on here, and of course to liven this thing up to make it feel even better through corners. Of course, as always, Brembo brakes are excellent. Every time I get on a KTM, it makes me want Brembo brakes on all my bikes. Hydraulic clutch. Although I do not need one, I'm not seeking out a hydraulic clutch on my bikes, but it is nice to have. The lever placement doesn't move. On one of these tracks today I rode, it was really tight and I had to abuse the clutch a lot. That lever never changed, so I didn't have to adjust it, so that is nice. So once you guys load your preferred map or your settings into this bike, that is going to be in map 1. When you switch to map 2, that is a more aggressive map, just like what comes on the KTM 450 SXF Standard Edition. So that is the more aggressive side. After I put my map in there today, which is a little bit more RPM response down low and a freer engine feel, to me it felt better than map 2. So you can create your map, put it in there, and that is in map 1. Traction control, you can adjust that. And then that adjustment will not kick in until you push the TC button. So just know that. If that TC button is off, your traction control is at the standard amount, which is a 3. But if you adjust it, of course, you want more or less, you push TC and then that kicks in. So there's some variables with this whole map switch system and now with the My KTM app. So it might take you guys a little bit of learning time, but basically I had a day to screw with it, and it's no problem for me. So just 2 maintenance items I would like you guys to look into when you guys get your new bike. Check the spokes, please. New bikes, especially KTMs, the spokes will back out. They'll loosen up. Make sure after your initial ride, you set them, you adjust them to make sure they're tight. And of course, always look into these top engine hangers. These bolts will back out a little bit. Tighten those up, put a little blue Loctite on, you're good to go. So we're going to continue to put more time on this bike. I shouldn't say we. I'm going to really be selfish with this bike because I really like it. So I'm going to put more time on this thing. If you guys have any questions about the connectivity unit, the app, Kris at KeeferInkTesting.com. I'm happy to help you guys. But as always, stay tuned for more RacerX films. We have more intros coming up, more new bikes. We have garage builds, so much stuff coming on RacerXOnline.com. And of course, publication still available, 12 issues, $30. You get a free calendar, lots of cool things over at RacerX, so don't forget to visit those guys as well.